Hi everybody, and welcome to the fourth edition of the PwC podcast series, exploring the different facets of corporate venturing. My name is Elise Carton, and I'm the scale-up driver at PwC Belgium. In this session, we will dive a bit deeper into startup studios and how startup studios can play a role into corporate venturing. So today, I'm not here alone. I'm also joined by Raphael Halberthal, who is the managing partner and co-founder of Startup Factory.
Hi, Elise. Thanks for inviting me.
Very welcome. And also Yasmin Vantuykom, who is the CEO and founder of Efluenz.
Hi, Elise. Thanks again also for inviting me.
Before we zoom a bit deeper into your experience, maybe a short introduction on what startup studios are in general. So startup studios are also sometimes referred to as venture builders, are a relatively new concept that has gained a lot of traction over the last decade or so. Some famous examples are Rocket Internet, eFounders, BetaWorks, all successful studios in Europe and beyond. These unique organizations create startups from scratch, infusing expertise and experience into one of the most challenging phases of a venture's life, the very beginning of setting up the company. So how do they do this? They engage promising founders, offer operational support in legal, HR, sales, fundraising, and in exchange for that knowledge and services, these venture building companies get a part of the founding equity. One of those startup studios, Startup Factory, was one of the pioneering studios in Europe, as well as the first in Belgium. Over the last 4 years, Startup Factory co-founded 27 startups with success stories such as Smoovin, Efluenz, Shipper, and CoLeave. Raphael, I think you're best placed to tell us a bit more about what makes Startup Factory unique and how Startup Factory came to life.
Yes, so Startup Factory came to life, as you mentioned, 4 years ago. And I think that we started as a corporate venturing startup studio, which means that our unique positioning was that we believe that creating companies alongside big corporate partners was one of the good ways for us. And so on that sense, we started building companies with corporates. Today, of course, we have now different models, and we are not limited to the corporate venturing model. We have what we call pure studio companies, which are companies that we build from scratch like other studios. And we also incubate and accelerate existing startups. So I think that the combination of different models, it's what sets us apart. But we really pioneered in the corporate venturing, and I will elaborate on that, I think, a bit later, on how we do that. How do we co-build companies with big corporates? But yeah, I think our passion is about really 0 to 1. So finding the right team, of course, validating the value proposition, getting the first client on board, and really get the company on track. And I think that's what we are passionate about, me and my partner. And I think that it's really about also a startup studio is really much about the DNA of the management and the founders. So what's probably setting us apart is how we build stuff, what we believe in, both Baudouin, my partner, and myself.
Okay. Thanks a lot for this introduction. Yasmin, you're one of those startups that was co-founded with Startup Factory, Efluenz. So can you also tell us a bit more about how your company came to life together with Startup Factory and how you guys connected?
Yes, so Efluenz is an influencer marketing agency in Belgium. We mainly focus on social media campaigns with influencers on different levels. So it could be micro-influencers, but also, for example, famous persons with clients in different kind of sectors, from telecom, food and drinks, but also everything which is more corporate, B2B. Actually, Startup Factory contacted me through my Instagram, so it's very influencer marketing specific, because they found me, I think, via a connection of Baudouin, and they asked me if I would be interested to be to launch this agency. So they actually had already Rossel as a partner or as a corporate partner interested in having an influencer agency, but they were still looking for an entrepreneur. So everything went actually very fast. I was contacted by Startup Factory, went to their office to have some conversation on, like, of course, my career and what was my strategy for the influencer marketing agency, what their strategy was, and to see if we could come up with the same story to then go and pitch to Rossel as well, our strategy, as well me as a person, as an entrepreneur. Afterwards, when Rossel was, I think, convinced of the idea and the strategy, and me as like the leading person for that agency, we actually started with a 3 months of incubation period. The 3 months of incubation period was really meant for Rossel to see if we could get like a first paying customer, how it would work in the markets. So what Startup Factory did at that point, for example, was putting me in contact with potential clients from their network, helping me with pricing, helping me with finding some interns, on creating the website, the first social media, all of that. And also we had some regular meetings to discuss strategy, because in the beginning it was all very new. Also, it was one of the first real influencers agencies in Belgium, like really only dedicated to influencers. So it was all very new also for me, because my background was also in social media. I was a social media expert, but not only dedicated to influencers. And then after those 3 months, we had to, Rossel made a decision to work with us on the longer term and to invest in Efluenz.
Great, exciting. And so you were a first-time founder, so founding a company was new for you. Yeah.
I was already independent when they contacted me. So I worked at the Big Four for 6 years before. And afterwards, I started on my own as an independent person, as a social media expert for companies.
Okay, great.
But
and
really
Raphael?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Raphael, is that something that you often prefer, working with a first-time founder, or?
So, well, in our model, I think that we are really focused on converting first-time entrepreneurs into successful ones, hopefully. I think that also the model of a startup studio where you share the equity is meant for first-time founders, or eventually founders who failed the first time and want to diminish a bit the risk and maximize their chances to succeed for their second adventure. I think that profile also is a good match. I can also say a bit more about our experience with recruiting Yasmin and working with her for Rossel, if that's the right time.
Yeah, sure.
So in our process, of course, the first thing we align with our partners is the ID. So that's what we can call the ideation phase. In here it was very straightforward. I think that the market in Belgium was waiting for a good influence marketing agency. We were really a few years behind other countries, other European countries. So there was no doubt on the ID and the potential of the ID. So for us, the first key thing that Startup Factory provides as a service, I would say, to corporates is to identify and recruit a good entrepreneur. Why can't a corporate do it by themselves? Well, first of all, because those corporates probably suffer from a certain image, and they would not attract the good profile, the good entrepreneurial profile. And the good recruitments. The good recruitment is really the key thing for us to make a company a success story. That's well known, but it's for us definitely not about the right idea, but about the right person who can execute it well. And so I think that corporates come to us also because we have that capacity to identify and recruit good co-founders, and that was definitely the case with Yasmin. So not only her background, and of course she went already halfway, I would say, by starting to be an independent, etc. And we saw really the potential for her to take the lead and become a very successful and inspiring CEO. So what we are looking at, it's not the educational background or the professional experience. I think we look at people who have a lot of motivation, a lot of energy, who are eager to learn, and who can really inspire and build a team. Those are the key things that we found in Yasmin. And now, after I think 2 years, well, we were really we were really right on that decision. Then, of course, there is this incubation where we are deeply, actively, operationally involved, because it's 3 months period where we validate the market, the business, our capacity to go fast. And that point is really where why, again, corporates come to us. Why? Because in a big corporate, between the moment you have a good idea and the time that you can put it on the market and get first clients, it could last for 1 year, 1.5 years at least. In our model, in 3 months, we have a CEO, first paying clients, a company up and running. And I think that fast go-to-market approach is only possible through an external process, what we can call extrapreneurial process, where basically we do everything outside of the big corporates. And when we validated the market after 3 months, when everybody validated each other, I would say, because it has to be a good validation for the 3 parties, we created then the legal entity. And yes, and at that point of time, Rossel decided to invest money in the company.
Yeah. So because in the meantime, Yasmin, you're already a scale up. We can't talk about a startup anymore, I guess, because you're growing quite rapidly. How is the collaboration and the involvement of with Startup Factory today? Because I bet now the whole incubation phase is over, and you're also a lot stronger on your own feet. They are still involved in the founding equity. Is it more now an advisory role, or how do you collaborate?
Yeah, so now, I mean, it was especially important during the negotiations with Rossel. It was important to have someone also on my side, let's say, and to because of course then you're inviting, let's say, a third party into the equity. So it's important to keep like kind of a balance. So I think for me, this is the most important role they still play at this time, is an advisory role, to be at the board meetings as well, because of course we all have the same expectation that Efluenz grows, but everyone has a different kind of manner to do that. So it's important that a Startup Factory helps me on keeping still the scale of the startup role, and not go too much to a big corporate that is maybe sometimes slower in taking decisions or taking risks. So the involvement now is more on the advisory role, but especially, for example, if there are not in the day-to-day business, they're not really involved anymore. But if there is like a big issue or I have a big question, then I will call, for example, Raphael to see how we can resolve that.
Yeah, so it's ongoing support.
Yeah,
I would say we well, the better we do our job, the less long actively involved we need to be, right? So if the company is up and running, then we did our job right. Of course, we are more than happy to help when we can help. Yasmin is also there to remind us frequently that we can do more and more. And I think that's the right approach, because as any investor or equity holder, I think that we want to continue to be helpful. And again, sometimes maybe for a few weeks or months, there won't be much happening, but then suddenly we need to recruit a key people, or we need to handle a problem. And we're there for that, right?
Yeah.
We in that case today with we got diluted by the investments of Rossel, so we are a minority stakeholder of the company, but still we are we're there, and we believe strongly in the potential of the company, and we'll talk maybe a bit later about the role that Rossel is playing today. Because they became, of course, much more involved right now in accelerating the growth. And I think that's the right combination. That's the win-win. Startup Factory is there to make it happen and successful for the first 6 to 12 months. And then ideally in our corporate venturing model, the corporate really jumps in and accelerates the business.
And how does that corporate venturing model look like? So because I understand in the beginning, for instance, the example of Efluenz and Rossel, Rossel was not an investor from the early days on. So what is your offering towards those corporates?
So the first 3 months, what we named the incubation and also the recruitment, that I would say is a service that we invoice to the corporate. And after 3 months, what we usually propose is to sell a call option to acquire the majority of the company after 2 years. Each and every case is different. Each setup is different because each corporate negotiates and different stuff. But in the case of Rossel, they were, I would say, so excited about the potential in the company that they wanted to immediately invest in the equity. And in this case, it made sense for both of us, I think, Startup Factory and Yasmin, because Rossel had really the capacity to accelerate the business. It was strategically close to what Rossel is doing. Of course, Rossel is a media group, well, not known by everybody, but in Belgium, well, they're a big media group, and they would offer influencer services to their portfolio, to their clients. And so they really wanted to have a strong integration, and Yasmin will be able to say more about that. But that was the reason why we accepted them to be in the equity after a few months of activities, because usually we believe that the corporate should not be sitting in the board and in the equity of the company only after 2 years of operations.
Yeah. Is that also in line with your experience, Yasmin, that it just made sense to have them on board early on?
Yes, because we discussed also with Startup Factory. I remember we discussed in the beginning, I mean, after the 3 months, there was also an option of having just like a financial investor, let's say, someone who would just give cash, but not strategy, let's say, or help develop in the future. And for me, that was not an option. I know like cash runs out very fast. So it was very important for me to, of course, receive a cash investment, but still, or a capital increase, but still have a partner or an investor that could help me grow on a daily basis. With Rossel, it's 100% possible. They have the portfolio of different clients. They can just add us in their offers. They can help us with marketing strategies. They're, of course, already very mature. So for me, it made sense. Did it make sense from the beginning? Yes, because I wanted to grow very fast. I didn't want to wait for 2 years to have a capital increase, to hire my first employees. As Raphael said, it was an opportunity in Belgium to create the first agency. I'm not a very patient person, so I wanted to move as quickly as possible.
But you're still somewhat independent in that way, that you're not only a product in the Rossel product portfolio, but you're also your own company with your own clients, right?
Yes. So I would say for the moment we have 20% of our clients come through Rossel, or our revenue comes through Rossel, and 80% still goes directly through clients.
Yeah.
So I think it's I'm still very independent from Rossel in making decisions on who to hire, who I can hire, or what strategy to follow. But I think it's very useful to use them, let's say, as to brainstorm on new ideas, to see what works well in a market. And especially if I want to contact a certain client in Belgium, I can just ask them and they can give me their phone number.
Yeah, that's a very good example of open innovation, of course, because it's really a two-way street, and you're helping each other on that. Yeah. Yeah, great. How do you see the future evolving? Because as Raphael explained, so a lot of the hands-on support of Startup Factory was dedicated to the incubation phase, while now there's a lot of hands-on support, but also a sales channel through Rosel, who's also an investor now. How do you see that relation evolve? Do you see it become tighter, or is it just great the way it is?
For me, so it's been over a year now that we're really working in collaboration with Rosel. And of course, it takes time being a startup in a bigger company to get to know everyone, to get everything up and running, that they would sell us to get to know, because of course they sell a different kind of media normally instead of influencer marketing. So it was a lot of training involved from our sides to their sales representatives. So I think it's only now the last 3 to 4 months that we really see it's evolving and accelerating. So I would just really like to see it accelerate even more. But it's going great for the moment. The collaboration goes well. I mean, both teams know each other now. I mean, it was in the beginning. It's very difficult to have them open up for you and have our team open up for them, as you come from, it's print and it's digital, so it's very far away. But now they can see, both sides can see the added value. You have a target audience in print, of course, you have a target audience on social media. And you can, if you publish an influencer in Le Soir, for example, or you publish an article of Le Soir on social media, it will help. You could generate more views either way.
Yeah. And for yourself as an entrepreneur, having that corporate on board, do you feel like you still have the possibility today and also in the future to keep that entrepreneurial mindset?
Yes, I think it gives me, first of all, safety. So, it gives the company, it gives the employees a lot of safety for the future. And me as an entrepreneur, yes, I still do on a daily basis, let's say, whatever I want. For me, that's very important. I'm also not afraid of, let's say, to have a discussion if I don't agree on the way things are going or the strategy. I think, of course, they can give you advice, but it's still you who is the managing partner and who has to lead it on a daily basis. It's not going to be them leading it on a daily basis. So I think it's an open communication is very important on what are my ambitions with the company, what are my ambitions personally as well on like personal life or professionally, and to see that they align with Efluenz, Rosel, and Startup Factory.
I think that also just complementary to what Yasmin said, it depends also a lot on who is sitting on the board of the company. And we are, I think, very lucky. On the case of Efluenz, we have two of the big decision makers of Rosel, and they get really implicated in the business. That's one good thing, because we can really get their added value there. And also Rosel has experience acquiring and investing in external startups, so that is part of their company culture, and they know how it works. They are not obsessed with control, with daily reports or stuff like that. I think that they know that to maximize the chances of Efluenz to succeed, they need to still give a lot of autonomy to the company, and that's really why it's working well, I think. And that really depends on the side of the corporate, how they work, because I still think that the things are changing, and all corporates I think realize that they cannot do everything by themselves internally, so that's clear. But a lot of them still struggle at some point, being after acquiring a company or investing and taking majority stake in the company, not to be control freak and not to kill the entrepreneurial culture, and that's a key thing. And I think Elise, you can attest on that with your experience as well. That's a key thing for a success story if you combine both worlds. And I think just to finish on that, I think what's really powerful here is that everybody knew from day one what was the end goal. So there was no big surprise or misunderstanding from day one in our model. The entrepreneur knows that there's a corporate, who is the corporate, that at some point there will be a close collaboration and investment and integration, and then on the corporate side as well. So I think that we really worked that from day one. And we can hear that a lot of times if you just do an acquisition and you integrate a startup in a big corporate, well, usually I don't have all the numbers, but I think that the failure rate is very high because the clash of the culture is very high. Things are not prepared well, and we avoid that in our model of corporate venturing.
Yeah, exactly. I think it resonates a lot with what we see in corporate startup collaborations. There's a lot of challenges, and I think misaligned goals in the short term and the long term are the biggest pitfalls that there are. And then, of course, the cultural clash. As you say, corporates are used to getting monthly reports and reporting KPIs, and then not even the fact that you need to report KPIs on a monthly basis, but also what KPIs are defined, because in the beginning, revenue or profits are not the right ways to see whether a company is thriving or not. So I think this is a great example of how it can be done right. So it's good to see and hear that it works out as well. So maybe a bit on the way forward, because of course we saw a lot has changed in the last months. I assume that has quite an impact on everyone's business. Maybe first of all, for you, Raphael, after the last financial crisis in 2008, we saw that there was an increased effort in entrepreneurships, also a lot more startup studios coming to life, and a lot of innovation happening. How do you think that happens after a crisis, that there's such an effort on innovation and entrepreneurship?
Well, first of all, after a crisis, I think that you need to make hard decisions, and you realize that, well, big corporates on their side, they realize more than ever that innovation is key, that digital transformation is key, and that they need to make tough calls. And especially for us, I would say that what's really important for us is the entrepreneurial culture, and the fact that we see that in the past 3 months, we never saw as many good candidates applying for jobs and then after this crisis. So I think it's a positive thing. I think that people look then for meaningful jobs and opportunities, because people don't become entrepreneur for money or for salary. Of course, some people, I cannot generalize, and a lot of people will look for a lot of security. But by the way, in our model, we offer, I would say, the most secure entrepreneurial adventure, right? So because we in our model, we are bridging the salary of the founders for the first 6 months up until fundraising. And we also give some security by having corporate partners behind our projects. And so I think that our model is meant to be more and more successful in the coming months and years. Also because in our model, we are not investing a lot of money. We are very much into the lean startup methodology, of course. So it means that we are creating companies with literally no money. So, and I think that will resonate a lot more in the coming months and years. So in my opinion, of course, I won't say everything is great right now. A lot of our portfolio companies did suffer from the crisis, depending on the business. Some did actually also better than before, some online businesses. But so these are challenging times, but I'm very optimistic for the future.
And have you looked into shifting the types of ideas that you're working on and the types of companies you're planning to build in the next months due to what has happened? Because I can imagine that has changed a lot.
Yeah, so of course we're very agile on the ideation. We're very opportunistic, and we are now thinking about, of course, companies that make sense in these times. We wanted to launch a few businesses in the culturetainment industry side, and we've put that on hold for the next 6 months. But we never thought about that before. But right now we're launching an online gaming platform, which is looking very successful. And so yeah, we are going to very fast adapt the type of projects we're going to launch. I don't think we're going to change the methodology, but definitely the type of ideas, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And for you, Yasmin, because of course I can imagine that a lot of corporates are looking to shift their marketing efforts to a more digital environment. Is that also what you experienced during the last months, or did you feel that as for a lot of people, business went down a bit?
In the beginning, it was very difficult because, of course, our big clients were suffering. So they put the contracts on hold, or they put on hold the accepting new offers. So it was kind of difficult in the beginning, but I think it was just kind of a panic reaction, because now actually already from April we saw a big increase indeed in clients and in campaigns. Especially what is working well for us is actually we're having a lot of new kind of clients or new type of clients, such as, for example, the government, which is a typical client we would not have before, because influencer marketing, I know, has still kind of a name that some people are maybe scared to use it, because you cannot control it 100% maybe. So we have access to a lot of new clients, but also we could show to our existing clients that we could shift, for example, the creative idea very quickly to COVID, for example, or to other teams that could not then happen, of course, for the campaign that was already sold. So I think it was for us an opportunity to be even more creative, of course, but also to have different markets. And now, indeed, as it's all settled down, we see a lot of shifting towards online marketing, because the campaign can go live very quickly. It's very flexible, let's say. And also, it's a bit cheaper than regular media.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Maybe as a final question, Yasmin, as Raphael mentioned, there are some people that are looking for new challenges and are thinking of becoming an entrepreneur. Even during these difficult times, would you recommend people to be an entrepreneur?
Yes, I would also always recommend it. No, I would definitely recommend it, because it's, as Raphael mentioned before, it's kind of in this setup a kind of a safe entrepreneurship, let's say, especially, of course, now that the deal is done. I think what is very important in the beginning is to really look for that it is clear between all parties what is it that you want, what is it that they expect, that you really align expectations to not have of course, some difficulties in the future. But I think it's an experience that you cannot have in another company or working for someone else, to be able to make decisions for yourself or your team on a daily basis. It's a roller coaster, but it is a fun one.
Great. Great. So thank you very much both for joining. To everyone listening, wanting to know more about Efluenz, definitely check out the website efluenz.com. The same holds for Startup Factory, startupfactory.com, and then .be, apologies.
Also for Efluenz.be.
Also for Efluenz. So both are Efluenz.be and startupfactory.be. I think, Raphael, the Startup Factory website also connects people to the startup job fairs that you're hosting, which allow people that are interested in being part of a startup and an entrepreneurial mindset to see what jobs are out there at the portfolio company.
So we're recruiting, of course, online through our website. We have monthly. We used to have monthly physical events. Now we moved to online job fairs. But we are constantly recruiting for new ventures, but also all our portfolio companies post their jobs on our website. And so definitely come and have a look. We're revamping the website, but it's available right now.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elise.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.